Hello, my name is Prasanjit, and I welcome you to another episode of CC Saturdays. With me today is Daniel O. He's the Senior Principal Technical Marketing Manager at Red Hat in the US to evangelize developers for building cloud native microservices and service functions, cloud native runtimes like Quarkus, Spring Boot, Node.js. He also works extensively on OpenShift and Kubernetes. Daniel also continues to contribute a lot on various open source projects. He's a CNCF ambassador for accelerating DevOps adoption in the enterprises. Daniel is the co-author of a book, Practical Ansible, and he's a regular in tech meetups. I came to know about Daniel from meetups, CNCF videos and all. So he's already out there and speaks extensively. And Daniel has put up a large number of knowledge videos on the cloud native microservices, runtimes, containers, and a lot of this around DevOps in his YouTube channel called Daniel O. I'll share the links in the description, and I'll urge you all to subscribe his channel. Today, Daniel will talk about serverless functions via Quarkus on Kubernetes. Before we begin, let me give you a quick overview. For the uninitiated, a function as a service, or FaaS, is a serverless way to execute modular pieces of code on the edge. A serverless architecture allows users to write and deploy code without the hassle of worrying about underlying infrastructure. From the perspective of a user, you can develop an application without worrying about implementing, tweaking, or scaling a server. Talking more about serverless and the use case, let's go back into previous presentations we had where we discussed about monoliths and microservices. So when you break a monolith into multiple functional units or microservices, you can again break each microservice into functions, and these functions can run in a serverless manner. Well, function as a service is also offered by many cloud providers like Google Cloud Functions, AWS Lambda, IBM Cloud Functions. Then you have Microsoft Azure Functions. So developers can now build modular chunks of functionality that are executed independently, respond to events, and scale automatically, all without having to think about infrastructure building. Now, in order to achieve that, we use something called as Knative in Kubernetes. So Knative allows to run serverless functions on Kubernetes. Now, Quarkus is usually described as a Kubernetes native Java framework. It allows us to automatically generate Kubernetes resources based on defaults and user-provided configuration. It also provides an extension for building and pushing container images. Quarkus can create a container image and push it to registry before deploying application to the target platform. It also provides an extension that allows developers to use Kubernetes config maps as a configuration source without having to mount them in a pod. So makes it very easy for developers to deploy serverless applications. So that's what Daniel will be showing us now. Over to you, Daniel, to take this forward with a short demo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prasanjit, and thank you for having me today. I'm really love to take this opportunity to share my experience, but also I really love to more than hearing some kind of good feedback from developer and also DevOps engineers. So really appreciate that. All right. So my name is Daniel O. So first of all, I'm going to share my screen and to showcase what I have. And I'm going to talk a little bit about function and serverless and Quarkus. Okay, let me share my screen. Here we go. And I change it to my slide where to presentation. Hopefully you guys all see my presentation. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the developing serverless functions with the Quarkus on Kubernetes. A little bit more focused on live demo rather than a boring slideware. So name is Daniel O. Thanks for great introduction, Prasanjit, once again. So I'm working for Red Hat and technical marketing manager to evangelize a lot of people. Developers, engineers, and SRE, DevOps engineer, and then system admin. I really love to have a conversation with dev people with the thought and insightful sharing, something like that. And then I don't just skip my profile, but just one thing, you can reach out to me anything, I will be everywhere. Some like a Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and then you could just poke my all existing project if you want to, and then just keep git repo URL always Daniel 030. All right. Okay. So no more boring talking. Let's jump into demo. How make it better your daily life for serverless functions. All right. So I'm gonna stop the sharing, and then so here's my just local terminal, and then I just create an empty directory such as *g. Hopefully you love that. So there are multiple ways you can create a cloud-enabled microservice application project using Java or Python, Go, whatever you need. But I'm really more using Java because I really love to Java. And then you can use a lot of ID tools or something else. But I'm going to showcase a really fancy tool, KN command line, also Func command line. So KN is a command line interface from Knative project, which allows developer to create KN services on your Kubernetes cluster. So you can deploy Microsoft's application to not normal pod, is a serverless pod on Kubernetes. So you can have exactly same serverless behavior and capability. So your pod will be scaled up automatically when you have a network traffic, and then that pod will go down to 0 if there's no network traffic, just like Amazon Lambda. But you can still have a Kubernetes manifester, Kubernetes feature, etc. So, but Knative, the command line like a KN embedded the function capability as well. So for example, KN func, and then you can have create some project like a KN func project, like a build, create, delete, deploy, etc. Because the Red Hat contribute this Knative project to edit the function capability. So you can use KN func, or you can download the func command line directly. So I'm going to use the func command line because the func command line is a little bit latest one. I'm going to showcase the latest and greatest feature today. So func command line, you can create the func, create a project. It will generate your project. So let's try to the function name, Quarkus func. And then you can actually set and select any runtime, not every runtime, but the specific runtime like a Quarkus and Spring Boot for Java, and then Python and Go and Node.js for JavaScript. There are 5 supportable runtime to create your function project. So I'm going to use Quarkus today, and that's it. So I just create a new project. And then you can find here the new project just created for you. You don't need to get starting from scratch. And then you can actually from create and then help. You can find more detail. For example, the runtime option, you can have Go, Node.js, Python, Quarkus, Spring Boot, and then as already mentioned earlier. And then you can actually trigger your function using HTTP protocol, but also event, which means cloud event. You know, also a lot of people really love to use event-driven architecture, like a reactive programming using Cortex or Node.js, even another language platform. And then all serverless function can be executed by event-driven model and pattern. So you can easily spin up and create your project by triggering HTTP like a RESTful API or event cloud event message driven architecture as well. So I'm going to use the very simple one today, and then go to change directory, and then you can actually deploy this application without any change. But I'm going to just show how the application looks like. So I'm going to using any, you can actually use any ID tools, but I am big fan of VS Code. So here's the application. So POM XML. So this is a Quarkus version 1.13, but I'm going to change that the new latest one. So we don't actually release 2.0 or Quarkus is still staging, but you can actually use that like a CR. And I think the latest one, CR3. The change is one here, the platform version as well. And then BOM is the Quarkus BOM. That's it. And then you can find here, so it's the dependency already pulled down your project. Here we go, so less easy and rest assured for your JUnit test. And here is the funky knative events. This extension and this dependency allows you have knative eventing or the function capability. So the name is funky came from function. And then this extension, this maybe you can say dependency allows, this is the allows developer to write a function and then make it portable Java API and deploy multiple serverless platform. So here's the thing, the developer wants to develop the one business logic, like a RESTful API and some kind of business logic. And then the company needed to deploy that serverless function to multiple serverless, like Amazon Lambda or Knative on Kubernetes or Google function or Azure function, because everybody wants to multi-cloud or hybrid cloud strategy. How to do that? Okay, I need to change some interface or I change some kind of API for target environment. That's the normal thing, right? Pretty boring and necessary job, but not easy, right? And the Quarkus funky extension reduce that problem. So you just create one business logic with a function and then deploy any, and then Google, Microsoft, and Amazon and Knative. You can deploy with any code change, but you just set it up configuration for target environment. Oh, this is Amazon, this is Google, this is the Kubernetes, this is Microsoft. That's it. You can create a portable function. Just imagine that you could have a container image. It's immutability and portability and deploy any container environment like Kubernetes on-prem or EKS or AKS, and then you can deploy any container platform. That's the beauty of the container, right? So we can have the same concept for Java serverless function. Okay, and I'll go to our application. Pretty easy. It's a RESTful API, but no narrow request mapping like a Spring Boot, and no parameter, and then no, getting mapping or request mapping or application scope. There's no component annotation like a Spring Boot or general Java application. You could have only one, the func annotation, and then you could have input parameter like a JSON format and output like a JSON format. That's it. That's all. Pretty simple. And this is the input and output pose or bin for JSON format, and that's it. So I just run this application very quickly for sanity testing my local environment using the Maven command line, the Quarkus dev mode. Maybe you already know what Quarkus is, but I'm gonna remind that the Quarkus dev mode. So Quarkus dev mode provides the live coding capability for developer, which means you can have the continuous testing, and you can have live coding. So what is the live coding means? Whenever you change the code, you don't need to recompile, rebuild, redeploy, restart your application runtime. Let me show you. And then you can find here test codes is resume, and then you can actually input R, and then after that, the test code is automatically starting. So you don't need to Maven verify command line. It's automatically started, and you just test it. When you go to source code, and then here is the test directory, and then you have two test scenario. One is hello and hello. The other is the kind of cloud event messaging. So let's try to go to endpoint here. Try to open web browser, and then go to here. You can find. I'm gonna make it better. So message is no, because I didn't pass down any parameter. So you can actually like a message kind of serverless. So you can have a message is serverless, right? And then if you change something, the application, like a input message, something other, what to say, like a plus something, any hello, on that, and then go back to browser and just reload the page. And then you could serverless hello. It's a function is working, right? And then go back to our runtime, you got an error. It's automatically testing. So you see, oh, the expected hello, but actually it's hello, hello. So this is a test-driven methodology for developer. So maybe a lot of developers just skip the test unit cases whenever they will change the code and the new business logic. But it turns out the Quarkus take care of that burden and then showcase how it works. And oh, you missed the test code because it's not just only for your individual project. It's just a team project. This is a corporate project. So you have to take care of your testing code to make it better application on your project, right? So this is the really good benefit and beauty of the Quarkus 2.0 and then after that. So even though this is not regarded as serverless. Okay, I just stop here. And so next step, I'm going to deploy this application, one command line. But for that, I'm going to use the Kubernetes cluster, which is OpenShift, based on Kubernetes to the latest version. So this is OpenShift cluster. I just create a new namespace and an empty one. Here is the star g-demo project, and then you can find any resources here. So nothing, this is a totally empty project. And then I just make sure right project, the star g-demo here. And then when you go to the application project, the root directory, you can find one YAML file, the func YAML file. This is a secret source. When you run kn func command line or the func command line, that command line refer this YAML file and how to build and how to deploy. For example, the name means the function name. And the namespace is Kubernetes namespace. And the runtime Quarkus or Spring Boot, you can actually change that after project creation. And the image digest will be updated when you during the build and deploy process. And then trigger HTTP or a cloud event, and the builder image JVM for Java application. The one good thing for Spring rather than Quarkus rather than Spring, you can actually have a native builder, which means you can have a native executable file. No need a JVM, just run on top of the GraalVM. It's so super fast than JVM stuff. If you have a more chance to maybe later time, and I'm definitely want to showcase how Quarkus native compilation gives some great benefit for developers. All right, and then go back to here. So next command line, just func and deploy, and then I'm gonna need to specify the external container registry, like a query.io or internal container registry or Docker Hub. And then I'm putting the namespace of the star g-demo and the bubbles. That's it. So during the this process, so we're gonna use a build pack, the one of the CNCF project to packaging your application, also containerize it, and to push it to some kind of external container registry like a Docker Hub and query.io. This is a maybe normal process developer. Once you've done application development and the packaging it like a Docker CLI, like a Docker build, and the Docker tag and the Docker push. And then go to Kubernetes, so you can define like a YAML file, like a deployment YAML, and then pull down that container into your Kubernetes cluster. This is a normal step, like a 5 or 6 step to build from application and containerize and then push it, pull, and then run, right? And then this one command line make that happen automatically. In the meantime, the application is deployed with this command line here. Okay, so back to our OpenShift cluster, and then the URL and command line here, and I'm going to reload this one. It takes a few seconds. Okay, it's coming through. Okay, here we go. So this is the application. And then when you go to a logs file, and then you can find here Quarkus version. Maybe I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Here, Quarkus version, and we just need to 0.8 seconds to start up this application. Pretty fast than any other Java stack. And when you use native comparison, it takes maybe 11 milliseconds. It's a more 100 times faster than any other application. So you know what, the serverless function, and maybe you got some concern. Okay, how long does it take to start up the application from cold start? This is already concerned from when you're using Amazon Lambda. Maybe it takes us 3 seconds. Oh, that's too bad. That's too slow because everybody is already leave the web page because it takes us 3 seconds. But you know what? Just imagine 11 milliseconds or 20 milliseconds to start up. Pretty awesome. So which means the end user doesn't recognize this application part is already scaled down to 0, like a hibernation, because it's almost the real time. And then in the end, your IT organization save your money to maintain your resources, something like that. All right, it's already stop it because one of the serverless capability, it takes scale down to 0 without any network traffic. And by default computation from Knative is 30 seconds. Okay, pretty cool. Now let's try to access the endpoint. Click on the route URL, and then in the meantime, your Quarkus application automatically start up. Just start up. It's in a second, and then you got some no hello because I print the hello. So if you go to here, and the message equal like a star G clone on, and then I'm gonna make it better. So message star G hello. Pretty awesome. So I just wrap up this demo. So I just using two command line. First of all, I create the project kmfunc or func create. That's it. And then second one, deploy. That's it. So I just need to, if I don't want to talk and want to explain this stuff, I just need to 3 minutes from creation and deploy your serverless function with the Quarkus. Pretty awesome. All right, I'm gonna stop my demo and go back to my slide. Not this one. And if you wanted to slide there, Prasanjit, I'm definitely wanted to share the slideware as well. Okay, so just a quick wrap up and take some takeaway. So Quarkus is a 100 open source project. It's a Java stack to create the cloud native microservice and serverless function. And then with the Quarkus, it will bring you to serverless function, which is just 2 command line and a very simple step. Just writing your code and the packaging deploy application to Kubernetes and OpenShift. Doesn't matter, any Kubernetes cluster, you can do that actually. And then you can have a function capability with the command line. And then you can use Spring Boot as well. And then Quarkus and the Node.js and Go and the Python as well. Pretty awesome, which means you don't need to, we have maybe 65 Python and Node.js developer. Do we need to run Java stack? Oh, no need, because it still needs to provide that capability, right? And then here is some more Quarkus extension or dependency allows developer to deploy the application to same application to different serverless platform like Amazon Lambda, Google function, Azure function, Kubernetes, Knative stuff. And here is the last of use case and demo. Thankfully, Prasanjit already introduced at the very beginning. Here's my YouTube channel, just a short link of Binley-Daniel O TV. Pretty easy to remember that, hopefully. So you can find a lots of example, not just Quarkus, there are Spring and Helmchart and Ansible and Kubernetes, and not just technical demo or tutorial or conference stuff, and the technical tips. For example, I recently make a video like what's serverless with Java. You know what? So a lot of people really love to using Node.js or Go rather than Java for running your application for serverless on Amazon Lambda. But maybe that's true, but that's not. So I'm going to explain why Java can be an appropriate to build your serverless function with that technology. And then thanks again. And I'm going to go to one more thing. So here's the Binly URL. Binly/try Binly/try to Quarkus. So I'm gonna make it bigger. So bit.ly slash Quarkus dash try dash Quarkus. When you go to this URL, this is the interactive learning portal, which is 100% free. And then there are a few Quarkus scenario. Each scenario, it takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes. For example, I want to run about Java, Postgre Quarkus, and integrate the backend messaging system. One of the popular things is the Kafka. And then click on the scenario. It takes 15 minutes to run about 100% free. You don't need to install any software on your local machine. It's 100% web-based running portal self-service. When you start scenario, we can spin up one small Amazon instance to install lots of software to ahead of time for you. And you just go to that, and you just need to web browser. I recommend the Chrome browser rather than Internet Explorer. So this is the way you can have the local browser, and you can have OpenShift console, and then you have a lot of command line. You can just find it. The one of the beauty is you just click on and automatically copy here. So pretty easy. So once again, bit.ly URL, Daniel TV, go to there and please subscribe to the channel and find a lot of technical tutorial. And then you really want more something to hands-on experience. Okay, I'm 100% ready to get my hands dirty. So go to here, try to Quarkus, bit.ly URL, and just enjoy the self-running. That's it. That's all I want to talk today, and I'm going to stop sharing. And back to I'm going to hand it over to Mike to Prasanjit.
Thank you, Daniel. That was a great presentation. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I learned a lot about how easy it is to actually deploy for a developer. Because if you think of normal circumstances where developers say working on Java, they just push their code, and then you have a long line of things to be executed via Jenkins. Then you deploy it using various plugins to the cloud, AWS, GCP, and then you see the output, run the test cases. But here it's like just 2 commands. That's what I saw.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks a lot for your presence. We'll definitely be watching more videos from your channel, and obviously we'll be looking forward to more such associations with you.
Cool. Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and the demo and the presentation. And please let me know. Don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy to address your question anytime. And have a good rest of a good day, and have a great weekend.
You too, Daniel. Have a good one.